There was news from Hollywood this weekend that Paul Walker had died in a car accident. Walker started playing as a child and later starred in the Fast and Furious movies. Walk with Paul. He didn't want to marry the mother of his child. He said he slept with other women, even her friends. His family said he met more than one woman at the same time and never put a name on any of them. But here's the catch. The same man gave $3.5 million to charity in secret. Flew to Haiti with chainsaws and medical kits and bought a couple of veterans a $9,000 engagement ring while they were there. The guy who couldn't commit to one person did make a promise to save a lot of money. A lot more went on in the life of the man who wrote Fast and Furious than any movie story could ever show. Paul Walker was born in Glendale, California, on September 12, 1973. He was a little over 7 pounds. His dad was a building foreman and made around $45,000 a year. And his mom had walked the Los Angeles fashion shows in the 1960s. They raised Paul and his 4 brothers on simple routines and small budgets in a small 1,200 square foot house tucked into Glen Oaks Canyon. I fell in love with the ocean when I was 4 years old. It was on a family camping trip to Leo Carrillo Beach. He did not want to go away from the sand. He was different after that trip. The Walkers came back to the shore once a month and gave him $50 because they saw how much it made him happy. Things were different after 2 years. A scout saw Paul, a child, having a fit at Toys R Us in Glendale. After 2 weeks, he was seen in a National Pampers ad crawling across a living room. The job paid $5,000, which is almost $50,000. $27,000 in today's money, and it let a lot of money in. He had done more than 200 ads and made $180,000 for his family by the time he was 10. The rule in California only said they had to save 15% of it, so they used the rest to pay off their house. It sounds crazy, but for the Walkers, this was a way to stay alive while becoming famous. After that came the soaps. Paul got a part on The Young and the Restless when he was only 10. He got $1,500 an episode to play the rock star's adopted son. Behind the cameras, though, things were going badly for him. The fights over money and careers caused his parents' marriage to fall apart. In 1985, they broke up. His dad moved out. Paul lived in a small apartment on Riverside Drive with his mom and siblings. The rent was $675 a month. He didn't make it to film days. People on the team saw his big smile fade. He was fired from the show in the same month that the divorce was completed. Paul stopped when he got to high school. In 1987, he started going to Village Christian School and stopped playing for 3 years. He became interested in marine biology and dissected squid during his lunch breaks. With an 8.7 score, he came in 3rd place in a junior surf competition. He wrote in his yearbook, "I'd rather protect one seal than sign one autograph." He had already applied for 5 jobs as a park guard with the National Park Service, each paying $28,140 a year. No one knew this. There are no red carpets here, just islands and quiet coasts. Paul delivered pizzas for Domino's in his mom's old Honda after high school, making about $340 a week. But side jobs came in. He was a model for Teen Beat and got a $2,500 GQ piece called California Boys. During the same summer, a huge storm hit Zuma Beach. Paul went out anyway, chasing waves that were 12 feet high. He was pulled 200 yards out to sea by a wave. He almost drowned. After 7 scary minutes, a lifeguard pulled him out. Paul passed out. When he woke up, he was coughing up salt water. He wasn't scared. It was an obsession. After 2 weeks, he got his scuba diving certification. He dove 60 feet below the surface off of Catalina Island for his first dive. He began going to Cal State Long Beach that fall. It was still her dream to study marine biology, but money and Hollywood were pulling stronger. He posed for catalogs and got $800 jobs. He kept those marine textbooks even after he dropped out of school in 1993. After all these years, he would still look through them on movie sets between takes. In 2004, he started training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu behind closed doors, getting up at 6 a.m. 3 times a week to work out. No red carpet stories, just cuts, scrapes, and punishments that no one saw. This is when Disney called. Paul made $150,000 for his role in Meet the Deedles in 1998. Even though the movie didn't do well, Paul Ever, who likes to take risks, insisted on doing his own jet ski stunts. In one take, he almost broke his ankle. Insurance went crazy. He just shrugged it off. After a year, he was cast as the backup quarterback in Varsity Blues. The voice? Not right at all. The director didn't like it. In order to get away on the weekends, Paul hung out at Texas high schools, recorded kids talking, and paid a speech teacher $50 an hour. He got it right. No one knew that before that shoot he had never played football in a team setting. Things got worse by 2000. His role in the movie The Skulls was very important to him. Paul talked to real fraternity members to get ready for the part and found out about twisted stories, fake drownings, sleep torture, and psychological abuse. Those stories moved him, especially during the scene where they got thrown into the pool. He wouldn't act as a trick double. Called for real submersion. After each take, he was shaking and out of breath. He said it felt honest, though. That's where he trained for 4 weeks for Black Hawk Down. The 48-hour no-sleep drills tired out most of the players. Paul didn't. He walked through the 110-degree Moroccan desert with 60-pound bags on his back. During prep, he lost 12 pounds. After many years, those same surviving skills would come up again. In Haiti, not on a set. Everything changed when The Fast and the Furious came out in 2001. The movie made over $207 million around the world thanks to Walker's act as undercover cop Brian O'Connor. That first movie only made him $1 million. He did the same thing for the second one. But his pay went up when the business took off. $7 million by 2009, and $15 million for each of the next 3 movies. Paul didn't spend his money on yachts or mansions, though. Instead, he gave to shark study, gave quietly to marine conservation, and wouldn't talk about it. He wasn't after fame. He was looking for a reason. He worked with National Geographic in 2010 to tag great white sharks off the coast of Mexico. It wasn't faked. He was trying to keep the 2,000-pound predators alive while putting them in cradles, drawing blood, and setting up tracking devices. It made him happy. He said that some things in the ocean are stranger than things in space. He thought that. For Too Fast, Too Furious, which came out in 2003, Paul Walker took the lead role without Vin Diesel. Everyone was curious to see if Brian O'Connor could carry a movie by himself. It was quick to answer. $236.4 million around the world. Things were moving quickly, too, not just numbers. Not all of those were camera tricks. Walker got 120 cubic meters in real life. He even helped make changes to the famous Nissan Skyline GTR or 34 specs. Walker was behind Brian when he slid around a turn or slammed a bad guy. Walker was driven by passion, precision, and pure horsepower. After 2 years, in Into the Blue, the ocean became his playground. Jared Cole wasn't just a part. Walker was channeling his love of sea life from his author John Singleton didn't just want races with cars. He was looking for toughness, sweat, and skill. Walker was forced to start training with Ricardo Franginha Miller in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It wasn't just for show either. You could see it in the scenes where they were questioning people. Real wrestling, not scripted crap. Since 2001, he had been training at Paragon Academy and finally got his brown belt. The chase scene on the highway. To get ready, he got an advanced Escuba certification. While shooting in the Bahamas, he did over 130 dives. He wasn't acting when he named different kinds of coral or when he free dived to 60 feet and held his breath for more than 2 minutes. That really happened. It was also fun to work with Jessica Alba. They did almost half of their tricks underwater without backups. She didn't stop when the cameras stopped rolling. On breaks, he cleaned up the beach with scientists from the area and put $20,000 of his own money into restoring coral. Every picture of him floating through the blue water looked real, and it was. He not only played a diver, he turned into one. Then there was Tokyo Drift. Walker wasn't in the lead role, but his hands were all over the movie. 2 days. That's all the time he spent on set for his surprise role. But he was still running the business behind the scenes. From calls with director Justin Lin to technical advice about how to set up the suspension, he helped make the movie seem more real. He pushed for real Nissan Silvia S15S to be brought in from Japan. But they were against the law in the US. He used his network of Japanese tuning shops to make it happen. He even read parts of the script again to make sure that Brian O'Connor's character would stay on track in the movies that came after. How much did he get paid for that cameo? Donated quietly to help people affected by disasters. The movie Tokyo Drift made $158.5 million, and Walker's help kept the series going even when he wasn't there. Soon after, 8 Below gave Walker a new partner, Sled Dogs. It was based on a real mission that took place in the Antarctic in 1958. It wasn't a movie about speed, but about survival, loyalty, and quiet strength. Walker trained with the Huskies for 3 months before the movie came out, and he wouldn't use doubles for the animal parts. He became so close with them that he took 2 of them home to California and adopted them. Their names are Ty and Miska. Later, he gave $47,000 to the Iditarod organization and paid for old Sled Dog's medical care in secret, which was only found out after he died. Winter stands in Alaska were so cold that the temperature dropped to 40. And while other people ran to warm trailers, Walker stayed outside with the dogs. Walker paid for medical care for a husky that got frostbite. The movie made $120.5 million, but its legacy lives on in the warmth between a man and his group of cold, silent friends. Finally, there was The Death and Life of Bobby Z, 2007, a dark thriller that cost $12 million to make and didn't have a fancy series safety net. In the show, Walker played Tim Kearney, a former Marine who gets mixed up in a world of jail fights and mistaken identities. Now this was his playground, a simple, low-cost space where he could focus on his martial arts training. He had been learning Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for 6 years and used what he had learned in every scene. His job was to teach Lawrence Fishburne how to grapple in a fight, making sure that every hold and guard pass looked real. Walk didn't want anything flashy. He wanted the truth. Even though the show had a small budget, he surfed his own waves and did all the board work himself. He didn't care that the movie only made $6.4 million in screens. It was no longer about the ticket office. The point was to be skilled, to push the limits, and to find the truth in the chaos. Walker's job outside of movies was just as busy by 2006. It wasn't a promise to always evolve. It was a real store that he opened with Roger Rodas. Behind that name was a dream garage with more than 30 cars, including Ferraris, Mustangs, Porsches, and a line of Skylines that made fans salivate. A BMW M1, a 1970 Boss 302, or even a rare Volvo P1800. He not only owned them, but also changed, tuned, and tried them. Matt Farah toured the collection one time, but Walker's death kept the news from him. After the 2013 crash, there were lawsuits over who owned what. Walker's father said his son owned a big piece of it. The store had been more than just a business. It was a safe place, a lab, and a second skin. He wasn't proud of the cars he bought. He bought them to feel alive. Then Fast and Furious came out in 2009, which made everything come back to life. When it came out on April 3, The Return with Vin Diesel shattered expectations by making $72.5 million in its first weekend, which was more than the whole domestic run of Tokyo Drift. It made $360.4 million around the world, which at the time was the most of any movie in the series. The critics weren't crazy about it, but the crowd didn't care. The people came for the cars, the stunts, the fun, and Brian O'Connor. Walker was back in his FBI uniform and driving through 240 custom-built cars as part of a plot that gave him emotional weight and a reason to live. It was no longer just about going fast. It was about getting even with Dom Toretto, trusting him, and growing closer to him. Walker was at the center of it all. Keep your hands on the wheel and keep going forward. He wouldn't coast, even in movies like 2010's Takers. Walker got into the world of armored car heists by playing a clean-cut bank robber. He showed off his criminal swagger and sharp accuracy. The critics were mean. Some people said it looked like he was reading from cue cards, but Walker didn't seem to mind. He wasn't trying to act like a star. He was revealing an extra part of himself. The main heist for $25 million was smooth, stylish, and full of stress. With every balcony chase and shotgun blast, he showed that he could still make you lean forward in your seat when he wasn't in the fast books. The movie Fast 5 changed Paul Walker's life in every way. It made $86.2 million in its first weekend in the US and $626.1 million around the world. He wasn't just the hot cop with the pretty car for the first time. He planned an international heist and sped through the streets of Rio with a group of crooks who seemed more like family than criminals. He also wasn't pretending to be someone else. Paul was quietly getting his brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in California, where he trained with Ricardo Franginha Miller. It was important to him, so important that he'd roll on the mats in the morning and be on a movie set by afternoon. The way he moved and fought showed that he had trained. It was clear to you. It was Forbes that ranked him as the sixth highest grossing star of 2013. That's how big Fast 5 was. Then Vehicle 19 came along, which was silent but more dangerous. A 95-minute low-budget action took Paul from the sets of Hollywood movies to the streets of Johannesburg, South Africa. He hardly got out of the driver's seat at all. He was in almost every shot, driving through real places and doing moves himself. In one scene, he even crashed his car into a store window. There are no safety nets or big teams. He wanted it to be real. He also made the movie from beginning to end as the chief producer. Mukunda Michael Dewell, the director, said that making movies there gave them more freedom than in Los Angeles. Paul sought more than just more money. He wanted power. He wanted a test. Then ours came. No cars and no bombs. Just a dad stuck in a flooded New Orleans hospital during Hurricane Katrina, turning a ventilator by hand to keep his daughter alive who was born too early. Paul was in all of them. No breaks in the video and no blam. Just long days, tough shots, and a lot of stress. Interviewers asked him about the part. He said it was the hardest thing he had ever done. It was shown for the first time at South by Southwest in March 2013. It came out on December 13th. Paul didn't see it. He had died on November 30th, just 2 weeks before. Fast and Furious 6 came out in a big way. $789 million around the world. Nearly $240 million of that from the US. But for Paul, it wasn't about money. Not really. His character, Brian, was becoming a dad, and so was he. Paul moved his daughter Meadow to California to live with him full-time in 2011. It was hard to watch because of how that change made people feel. He was telling Vin Diesel behind the scenes that as a parent, he should cut the cord at birth because it would be the best day of his life. He was made a grandfather to Diesel's kids. It wasn't a part. It was real life shown on the screen. Then something terrible happened. Paul was not there. Production stopped in the middle of filming Furious 7. Everything stopped. When they got back to work, they had to rethink the movie in order to respect him and finish it. Cody and Caleb, his brothers, helped him out. It wasn't a play. They didn't mean to be. But with help from acting teachers, motion capture, and smart lighting, they made sure Paul was there all the way to the end. Peter Jackson's waiter computer used computer effects to make his face look like it did in scenes he never got to finish. In the movie, the last sequence wasn't just a goodbye. It was a goodbye to the man. That's what people felt. One mistake in Furious 7 cost $15 billion. It only took 17 days to hit $1 billion. Paul didn't just leave a movie. He left one of the saddest farewells in the history of movies. But something more quiet was always going on in the background, even with all the fame and money. Jiu-Jitsu in Brazil. He began in 2004 and was 31 years old. A lot of people that age are ending their physical jobs. Paul was only just beginning. He worked out hard not because it was cool, but because it kept him grounded. Ricardo Miller, who taught him. told him there would be no awards or special treatment for him as a famous black belt. Paul smiled and said, "Okay, I'll get it for my grave." He did it. After Miller's death, he gave Paul his black belt after the fact and gave it to his father at the funeral. That belt wasn't just made of cloth. It took almost 10 years of sweat, Matt Burns, and being humble. Everyone looked up to the blue-eyed action star. The guy who always seemed a little too good to be true, the heart of a billion-dollar business. But behind the good looks and smile that made you think of California, there was a life that wasn't quite like the poster boy picture. Paul Walker, who was 33 years old at the time, began dating Jasmine Pilcher Gosnell in secret in 2006. She was 16 years old. They lived together in Santa Barbara and didn't tell anyone about it. While everyone was watching how well he did at the box office. Even though California law said it was okay, people still talked about it. People remember when there is a 17-year age difference. Paul died in that crash on November 30, 2013, right before his charity event. Jasmine told Meadow, Paul's daughter, the sad news. Walker had more than one girlfriend when he was a teenager, though. Years before, in 2001, he was allegedly seeing Aubriana Atwell. She was 16 years old when they started dating on and off. Some say they lived in Santa Monica and Santa Barbara together. Some people point to pictures from the same year that show him outside of a New York hotel with another lover, Bliss Ellis. The dates don't always match up, and people on the internet are still guessing if he had other relationships like this. Especially when he first became famous in the late 1990s. There is still a lot of doubt, but the stories have ruined what he left behind. Paul Walker never got married, even though he was in long-term relationships. He was most close to her when she was with Rebecca Sotros. When she got pregnant in 1998, they were both in their early 20s. Paul didn't want to settle down, even though his mom told him to. He even said it himself. He wasn't all set. He was still going out and sleeping with different women, even Rebecca's friends. In November of that year, they had a girl named Meadow. Rebecca moved to Hawaii to raise her by herself, while Paul stayed in California. After many years, Meadow moved in with her dad full-time in 2011. He finally seemed to be stepping up and learning how to be a dad. There were a lot of ideas on the internet when he died in 2013. A few people said the government was involved. Some people said it was the Illuminati, lovers who were jealous, or even other players. Some even said he faked his own death and went into witness protection. But what the government looked into made things seem easier. In a 45 miles per hour zone, he and his friend Roger Rodas were going too fast on Impremikid between 81 and 94. When their Porsche Carrera GT hit a light pole in the trees. The tires were around 9 years old. They died right away. It was horrible, but there wasn't a plot behind it. He didn't want to commit to anything for more than just the Hollywood lifestyle. His parents didn't get along with each other. Cheryl, his mom, was a model. His dad used to box and work as a sewer worker. After 30 rough years, they broke up. They quietly broke up around 2002, when Paul was 29 years old. It took years for the divorce papers to arrive, but the damage was already done. His friends said it hurt. Even though Paul grew up in a strict Christian home with family dinners and high standards, he had a hard time staying stable. The chaos at home set a pattern for him that he could never quite get away from. He told them that he didn't want to be tied down. Not in a public or sensitive way. In the film I Am Paul Walker, his family and friends told it all. He dated several people at the same time and never really put a name on any of them. He kept other people close even when he was with someone seriously. They said it wasn't about being rude. He was that way by nature. He wasn't made for normal things. His love life didn't need to be the center of attention. He liked being on a boat in the bush, diving with sharks, and getting away from the attention as much as possible. The press didn't write about it, but he had another side. He saw how bad things were in Haiti in 2010 and didn't wait for a red carpet event to raise money. He paid for his own ticket, packed chainsaws and medical kits, and flew down with a group of engineers and EMTs. There is no PR team. Not a group, just movement. That same year, he started Reach Out Worldwide, a quick response aid group that didn't depend on red carpets or donations from famous people. Before he died, he went on more than 15 emergency missions by himself. He was always hands-on, first to arrive, and never needed a camera. In 2011, after an EF4 tornado destroyed homes in Tuscaloosa, he showed up. At first, no one knew who he was. He moved rocks and made shelters for 3 days. He wouldn't go on camera when the press finally found him. He paid $15,000 for building goods out of his own pocket when the company ran out. He didn't bow when he left town. He left a note. In 2004, he heard a young couple having a hard time paying for an engagement ring. The man was a warrior. "I just got back from Iraq." They picked out a simple ring and left the shop. After they left, Paul got them the $9,000 ring they really wanted and told the store to tell them it was on sale. They didn't learn about it until 9 years after he had died. It wasn't just one time either. He secretly gave more than $3.5 million to marine conservation causes, went on National Geographic trips to tag sharks, and even dove with great white sharks without a cage. One of them, a girl about 14 feet tall, he named Meadow. It was 38 minutes before he died that he sent his last text. In order to help the victims of Typhoon Haiyan, he was going to a charity event. In the back of his car, he had 500 food kits packed. He sent a text message to his Reach Out Worldwide co-founder. "I'm excited to help. Bringing enough food for 500 people. We're really making a difference." He never got there. People knew about his garage. A custom shop he owned with Roger Rodas had dozens of high-performance tools and was always getting better. After the accident, lawsuits were filed over who owned the cars. Paul's dad put in a claim for cars worth $1.8 million. Meadow finally got a deal of $1 million. The shop closed quickly after that. Then the sales began. Barnes-Jackson sold 21 of his cars for $233 million in 2020. A very rare 1995 BMW M3 Lightweight in Alpine White sold for $385,000. His Fast 5 built 370Z sold for more than $105,000. And in 2023, his famous Fast and Furious 4 2000 Skyliner 34 GTR sold in Brussels for $1.57 million, making it the most expensive Skyline ever. Meadow got all $25 million of his estate. She was only 15 years old at the time, and her grandmother took care of her. She began the Paul Walker Foundation in 2015. It helps with youth activities, marine conservation, and environmental work. She released a limited edition shirt on his 52nd birthday to honor the foundation's 10th anniversary. Each and every dollar went back to the cause. It was like the video pulled back the curtain. In 2018, the show I Am Paul Walker came out and showed who he really was. They are flawed, impulsive, kind, and troubled. Someone who didn't always do the right thing and lost their anger, but who always tried to be better. They showed video of him setting tags on sharks, laughing with his daughter, and having trouble figuring out who he was meant to be. His brother Cody kept Reach Out going all over the world. The team has helped with tragedies all over the world since then, from Nepal to Alabama and from California to the Philippines. Cody's first job was to help treat 400 people in just 96 hours. And Meadow, who is now a model and philanthropist, does what her father did, not what he said, to carry on his tradition.